Welcome back to another edition of the House that Allen Built. This is episode 13. I'm Scott Kinmartin. With me, as always,
Greg Vollmer.
And today we're going to discuss the Buffalo Bills going to MetLife Stadium to battle the 5-3 New York Jets.
Jets, suck.
Zach Wilson did suck last week. He threw some bad passes.
Like sucking on the milk.
You know, though, as we were watching the highlights there, we noticed that he has some really nice passes, and then when he's under pressure, he does awful. The opposite of Josh Allen. You rush him, he's going to bury you. So I'm thinking our defensive line, our front four, pressure him, and we're going to see a lot of the same. We get our turnovers. Even if White isn't ready for this week, even though they activated him, I still think the Bills are just too much of a match for them.
You feel it in the air?
What's that?
I can feel Leslie Frazier in the chemistry lab right now, just concocting up a crazy torrent of blitz packages and confusions and dropbacks.
I don't even think they need to blitz,
and non-blitzes or blitzes that look like blitzes, but they're not. He's concocting just some crazy potion that's going to beat the Jets.
Well, it's going to take 13-point favorite Buffalo Bills to do a lot in order for them to lose that game. I feel like the Jets, even though they have a very good defense, their offense cannot keep up.
You hit the nail on the head, though, in the beginning of just alluding to the fact that as long as the Bills play their game on offense and avoid falling asleep like they did last week, then to win the game, truly, you come up with some unique coverages and some ways to confuse a still very young Zach Wilson. Like you said, you make him uncomfortable in the pocket, and I'd say we have a decent chance of winning.
The Bills are 5-1 against the Jets in the last 3 years, and Zach Wilson is healthy again, but I feel like he's off.
And yeah, I'm no fortune teller either, especially not tonight. But if I were, and I was looking into that crystal ball, I have a feeling that Allen's going to be doing a lot of running in the pocket too. Not to say that our offensive line is bad, it's not. But I just have a feeling that
he's going to have to, because Spencer Brown may still be injured with an ankle. Questenberry came in there, and he did okay, but I just feel like Allen is good at scooting around. But after watching what they did against Mac Jones, the Jets' defense is for real. Quinnen Williams, Jermaine Johnson, these young rookies that are, you got the
wily vet, C.J. Mosley.
Mosley has been a problem for us for several years now.
Yeah, we were talking about it before the cast. Like they've hit on their first rounders, and they've had plenty of them because of how bad they've been. But yeah, like you said, Sheldon Rankins, Jermaine Johnson, Quinnen Williams. It's just, and then they bring in C.J. Mosley to kind of put some veteran leadership in there from the Ravens, and it's just I think Allen is going to have to make some plays in the pocket, but that's the thing. We fluster Zach Wilson. He's, I think, going to struggle, whereas Allen shines sometimes when he's in those difficult situations and the pressure's, tightening up around him in the pocket, and he finds ways to make something magic happen.
I mean, what does a defense do? You blitz Allen, he burns you. You don't blitz him, and he's going to run circles around you. So, I mean, that's why he's such an elite quarterback and the MVP favorite right now.
Watching the highlights on Sunday, I just saw the bad of Zach Wilson. I saw the two horrendous picks he threw, but then watching the highlights and kind of digging into it a little bit more, he did, like you said, had some really good throws when he had time, and he put them right in a perfect spot, and some zipped passes on a rope. So he does have his moments, but those moments aren't as consistent as a person as a quarterback like Josh Allen.
Garrett Wilson, young guy, had a good game last week, and I feel like Elijah Moore, since they didn't trade him, they're going to have to play him. And they've got young weapons. I mean, on paper, these guys are looking so much better. 5-3, as much as they've had some ugly games, they're probably the second best team. They could end up beating the Dolphins. Who knows? I don't know.
That's got to be a tough situation to handle as a coach, and even as a team, like Elijah Moore's teammates. It's got to be a little awkward.
Yeah, a rookie who feels entitled, and maybe he hasn't gotten the looks he deserves. You're a rookie, dude. Earn your time, okay, Kyler Murray?
Yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting how that would be handled in the locker room. I mean, that could create some interesting vibes.
Yeah.
So,
well, there were a lot of trades that happened, especially near the deadline. There were 10 crucial trades that happened on the deadline day alone, November 1st, and the Bills were included on one of those. We say goodbye to Zach Moss in a 6th-rounder, and we receive
Nyheim Hines.
Yes, and you've always liked him. He's a good passing running back who can actually play in the slot. He can play in the backfield. He can run. He is McKissick, but better.
If that ends up being true, man, yeah, then we got ourselves a steal. Because what, we only gave up a conditional fifth? Or
it's a sixth that could be a fifth, yeah. And it probably will end up being that, but
didn't break the bank.
No. Now, could we have made other moves? Yes. I mean, we could have used offensive line depth. We did get Dean Marlowe back, so he's actually the longest tenured player under Sean McDermott. He was on the practice squad in Carolina, and then he played for him there. Then he came to Buffalo for like 3.5 years, and we lost him this past year to the Falcons. And then from the Falcons, we ended up giving them a seventh round. They are the Falcons
sometimes. Sometimes they are Falcons.
They do fall. They do fall a lot on their face.
Hey, Mariota though, he's been decent.
Yeah, he's had his moments.
It's been kind of that like
he is a more mobile quarterback if you let him do what he's supposed to. Just like Justin Fields, like if you're gonna be better on the run, roll out. Play to your strengths. Don't expect him to just sit there and be a pocket passer all the time.
Yeah.
When he did that for Tennessee, they thrived.
It's interesting. The life of an NFL quarterback is interesting because, you past the elite quarterbacks, you've got these quarterbacks that they made it to that level for a damn good reason. Mm-hmm. But, there's just not the consistency. They could look, good for, a half a quarter or a full quarter, and then they throw a ball or, some balls where you're just like, my God, was this the same quarterback?
I know we're talking about the Jets now, but Trevor Lawrence, he's a prime example of that, right? He was unbelievable in college for Clemson. And then he comes out, and of course, everyone's going to blame Urban Meyer, and they're like, oh, I don't know about that system. And they bring in another coach. And now it's like, okay, enough for blaming Meyer. Is Lawrence going to actually step up? Because they've gotten him plenty of weapons now.
Yeah.
And it's time for him to let the excuses go and just play. And it's funny. One week we'll come in and go, man, Lawrence might be the real deal. And the next week we're like, God, that was awful. Same way with Zach Wilson. These young guys who 10, 20 years ago would sit behind someone for 2 to 3 years before they got their start. I mean, even Jim Kelly, right? Drafted in 83, didn't want to come to Buffalo.
Finally, to the Houston Gamblers.
Finally, in 86, he plays for the Bills, and then he's there until 96 when he retires. So all 10 years with the Bills. But it took him a while to really get it. I used to call him Jim Smelly early on because he would just throw picks. He looked like crap. He'd get concussed. I didn't know what he was doing. But it takes a lot in the NFL to read a defense, to know where your guys are going. You have to know every route on every play. You have to make the calls. You have to keep your composure. You've got to run an offense with 10 other grown men. And I don't think Zach Wilson is cutting it. I liked him when he came out. At BYU, he was good.
Yeah.
And I just feel like he just looks like a guy that's hardly treading water right now. And I know they're winning. And Robert Saleh swears he's going to start Zach Wilson no matter what for the rest of the year. Because there were rumors that they should start Flacco because Flacco did well. I mean, he threw for 900 yards when Wilson was out, and they won. They got to stick with the young guy because they know who Flacco is. At this point in his career, he is a backup. They know Mike White is not the answer. So Zach Wilson it is. With Breece Hall having a hell of a year, but then getting injured and going out, they had to make a trade. They traded with the Jacksonville Jaguars and picked up James Robinson, who is solid. So with Michael Carter and James Robinson, that's solid. Yeah. If we can't figure out our run defense, that might be trouble. At least our secondary should be shored up a bit to be able to cover these young guys.
I know we're talking about the Bills playing the Jets, and obviously the Jets are one of our biggest foes. Can I just pour one out one more time for Breece Hall and all those fantasy owners, including myself? Man.
It was like putting down a pet.
There were so many not funny
good memes
in light of him tearing his knee up.
It sucked because he had a hell of a year.
Were there some memes out there that were just were spot on. Like one person said, dropping him off my roster feels like I'm laying down a pet to rest, or not a pet.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
What was it? It was trying to drop him.
It's putting a pet down. That's what it was.
Like putting a pet down. And then, just some people were like, I just want to put him on my IR so he can ride my team if I end up winning the championship on that roster.
I mean, that's admirable. But anyway, Hall's out. Elijah Vera Tucker's on IR for them. He tore a tricep or both of them. I don't know. But, there were a lot of trades. The Jets even traded their defensive end, Jacob Martin, and a 2024 fifth round pick for a 2024 fourth round pick. So it was hardly a move, but it was more for flexibility. They didn't trade Elijah Moore, so we're going to get him. Miami made trades. The only one in the AFC East that didn't were the Patriots, so they didn't add anyone.
Interesting.
If you're comparing Allen to Wilson, Clearly, Allen's a huge upgrade. He's averaging 314 yards a game, 19 touchdowns so far to 6 interceptions. Wilson, even though he hasn't played all season because of injuries, 210 yards a game. He has 3 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Maybe he can put some of it together. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I feel like the Bills are just, high class. They're well coached, well-oiled machine at this point. They're second in the league in scoring at 29 points a game, where the Jets are 18th with 22 points a game. And total yards, Bills first, 438 yards, to Jets, 355, which is 19th. So you're seeing the discrepancies here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bills are first in passing yards. Jets are 16th. And we've got Diggs and Davis and Singletary and McKenzie and Knox. They've got Wilson and Corey.
Conklin.
Corey Davis. And Tyler Conklin, who's really come on. He's got 309 yards and 3 touchdowns as a tight end. I mean, that's good. When he's your third leading receiver, though, unless you're Kelsey, whatever. As far as rushing, it's going to be Singletary. Maybe Nyheim Hines.
I was just going to ask you, how much of Nyheim Hines are we seeing on Sunday, if any?
I think they'll keep it simple. I do think we'll see him. I do. I think because he's conditioned. I think he's a pro. He's a veteran. And I think they've got this week to show him some stuff. Maybe he only gets in there for a couple series, but I think they want to see what they can do in the passing game and in the punt return game. It's been Shakir, and I think he's good. He's a good rookie who's been pretty good, but maybe this guy he's got 2 punt returns for touchdowns under his belt, and he's done it, and he's been a Pro Bowler doing it. So I say we see what we got in him,
And it's fair to say that had James Cook gotten into the system with us after we drafted him and kind of came on quicker, we maybe wouldn't have done this, but...
True, because they're similar. They're similar players, but I think it's always good to have a veteran in that room. And with Singletary on his last year of his contract, if we don't sign him, we've got Cook and even Nyheim Hines. Let's say he's a 1-year deal, right? Because he's signed for next year and the year after, but he's $4.5 million for an RB2.
Cheap.
You're not paying 10 to 12 million, or you're not paying CMC money, but we don't know if that's exactly what we want. So we're going to test drive him for the next 10 games, and it gives Cook more time to grow confidence and maybe do what he did last game where you have him out there for a couple drives. You keep him in there for the whole series. You get him that 41-yard pass. You get him. It's good.
Him in open space is dangerous.
It really is. I think he is a breakaway guy. Singletary, although he had a 30-yard run and he's got that shiftiness, we don't have that power back, And Nyheim Hines isn't that at 5'9", 202. I just feel like they're gonna draft again next year. They might even say goodbye to Singletary, but I think he's done well.
Man, if we do have to say goodbye to Singletary, I'm gonna miss him.
I think he'll sign back for cheap, but we may lose him. There's a good draft coming up.
Man, he's just been so solid these last 2 years.
But we have another good quarterback draft, and if a lot of people are going for that because they need it, the bottom of the order is going to need it. The Lions are going to need it. There's so many. I could just go off with names. Then that could leave us for another running back.
Yeah, it is interesting because we have now 3 running backs
in the last 4 years in the top 2 rounds.
Well, yeah, in our current now with now Nyheim Hines with Singletary leading, Nyheim Hines, and then James Cook to round it off for our top 3.
3 rounds.
It's they're all similar in body style.
Yeah,
kind of similar size, similar stature.
Cook runs more straight up and
upright.
He's taller.
Yeah.
Singletary is more stout, like Moss was.
Yeah. I guess Singletary is a little bit more of that bruising with a little bit more of the muscle on there. You could probably compare Cook and Hines more so.
Yes. As far as a passing running back.
But you also have Singletary so elusive in open space too.
Sure, but he's not breaking away for 60 to 80 yards ever.
Yeah.
I think his longest run ever is in the 50s.
Game-changing, just breakneck speed at times where he can just turn it on and he's gone.
So there's really no point of comparing the offenses because ours is far superior and they're just young. Their defense, they loaded up in the draft the last few years. They're very talented on defense. And when you're comparing numbers here, look at this on defense. Points against, Bills first, Jets 11th, right? We've allowed 14 per game. They've allowed 20. But Bills are just the class right now. And then as far as total yards, it's actually very close. The Bills have allowed the 3rd least amount of yards against. Jets, 6th. We're talking 13 yards. 298 to 311, right?
Yeah.
So their defense is good. Their pass defense, they're literally the same. It's like 9th and 10th. And then you're talking about rushing yards against. 4th for the Bills, 9th for them. And that is a matter of 13 yards. Sacks, we're actually tied. We both are tied with 21 sacks.
Look at that.
They
Deion Sanders number right there. Prime time, baby.
That's true. Interceptions, it's actually pretty close. We have 11, they have 9. So 2 less interceptions. That's a couple tip balls that you didn't get. You know?
And our damn rushing yards against wouldn't be 95 if it weren't for last week.
It was 76.6, and it went up 20 yards after we allowed 140, 150, whatever it was.
We deserve that, even if it was a little bit part of strategy at times, I'm sure.
But with Edmonds leading the team in tackles with over 50, he's got Taron Johnson is our slot receiver, one of the best in the league.
Mr. Consistent, right?
He had a couple passes over him on Dobbs, but those catches were just amazing. So between Edmonds, Johnson, Milano, and Hamlin leading the team in tackles, all with 35 plus, that's what you expect, right? Now, as far as our defensive ends, Von Miller leads with 6 sacks, 14 tackles, and 2 passes defense. Rousseau, who's come into his own, 5 sacks,
Yes,
20 tackles, and 2 pass defense. Who do you think, without looking, is in 3rd in tackles or sacks on our team?
Well, it's not Ed Oliver because he missed some time, but
True.
I think it would have been him.
Yep, it would have been. But who is it?
It's Jordan Phillips. No,
No.
Tim
He's
Settle. It's Tim Settle.
No.
AJ Epinesa.
Yes. Yeah.
Which gotta say this real quick.
2.5 sacks.
Yeah. I told you this earlier.
Yeah, this is crazy, guys.
Another reminder of how small this world is that we live in. I get picked up in an Uber to come over to Scott's to film, and it's this really cool older gentleman. He's a Navy vet, and we just got to talking. Of course, it led to football. Told him, that we do a podcast and that we're big Bills fans, and he's like, my team's the Rams. He's been a huge Rams fan for years, and most of his family's 49ers fans, but he, cheered on the Rams. So
Sure.
we get to talking, and then he's like, yeah, I'm like, so Josh Allen? He's like, I know Josh Allen. Like he's a stud.
Yeah.
And then he goes, you want to know what? And I'm like, what? He goes, I actually have a connection to AJ Epinesa. He goes, I met AJ Epinesa's grandfather in the Navy in the Philippines when they were serving on a ship together.
That is
and
so cool.
So he knows AJ Epinesa's grandfather, just absolutely random. So really just had to.
Here's another 6 degrees of separation. We go to the Cheerful Bullpen, which is one of the Bills backers bars here in Portland, Oregon. And the owner of the bar, Amy, she actually went to college with Bobby April III, whose father, Bobby April, was the special teams coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. And I believe he was even an interim head coach. Yeah. And you got a football right here that's actually signed by the second.
Yep.
So Bobby April, right? So that's really cool. I think having Bobby April's autograph on a football and then talking to her, because I asked her, I'm like, what is your connection with Buffalo? I know you're not from there. And then she's like, oh, well, I went to college with the third, and now he's coaching for the Honey Badgers?
Yeah, he's coaching the Wisconsin Badgers.
Yeah.
I didn't know, and my brother's a huge Badgers fan, and my sister-in-law living in Madison, and sure enough, Bobby April's on the damn Badgers coaching staff.
It's really cool to see that. I feel like there's so many situations like that with Bills fans where my license plate in Oregon is Bills. And I have like a Bills tag on my 4Runner. I've got a Bills tailgate cover, like a hitch cover, and it's Bills. And I got it on Etsy. It's like a nice metal, durable one. And I get honked at, and I feel like someone's actually road raging, right? And they're like, "Go Bills!" And wherever I go, people, especially now, Buffalo's like a destination, and it's fun and it's cool. And they were talking about that on the broadcast. But people are rooting for the Bills, and Josh Allen's so likable that they're like, "Yeah, we want the underdog. We can't say they're underdogs anymore, but they have been for so long that they're rooting for him. Like everyone else has had a chance, other than the Lions and the Vikings. They don't go to Super Bowls, but in general, yeah, we want the Bills to make it.
I think in this life and in this world we live in, many people, if not most people, have had to deal with some kind of a comeback in their life, and it could be big or small. It's varying degrees, man. We all get dealt different hands. But I think everyone mostly can relate to having a comeback in their life or wanting to get a comeback.
Redemption.
And why wouldn't you want to cheer for a dude like Josh Allen, who himself is a comeback story, and then he ends up being embraced and gets into the perfect spot for a franchise and a city that needs a comeback.
Well, he's the underdog story. He's the blue collar guy. He's from a small town. He persevered. That's the epitome of Bills Mafia, and that's why we love him so much. And I mean, you can't see it, but you can see the 17 on the other side. But that's a Josh Allen right there. It's just like my
Boom.
baseball jersey I was wearing last week. Josh Allen is just...
And I'm sure like non-Bills fans that may come across this podcast, or if you happen to watch some of it, you'll be like, man, these guys are homers. But it's just tough not to talk about the guy because he's just so prevalent and he's just such a fixture now for the city, for the community, for the fans, and just the love and the energy and the connection between the fan base and him and the team is so palpable that it's just hard to not and yeah, it's easier as a Bills fan to get in it, but it's just how do you not love it?
Excuse me, do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior Josh Allen? Because we do, and we do it every week, twice a week.
Yep.
We do a preview, we do a recap. I don't even know how you guys found us, but you must be a Bills fan or a sports fan, or maybe you've seen my stuff before from other YouTube stuff. I don't know. But Greg, he's a great co-host to have. He's one of the absolute best friends you can have. And
hey,
we're not
man. Likewise.
We're not perfect on this show, but you know what? We're human. We're real. And now I consider us part of the media.
Yay. Well, hey, you know what? I'm just blessed, to be a part of this. This dude has been, he studied all this, like does video production and knows so much about all this stuff. And
we didn't have any plan on doing this a couple of years ago. Actually, for like the last 4 or 5 years, we've talked about like, hey, let's do it. Yeah, we'll do it next year. We'll do it next year. And then honestly, he brought over his helmet. This one?
I brought this one.
He brought over his helmet, and I had this one.
My former friend from college, Troy Dutz, he gave me this. I think he had found it at an auction, and he knew I was a big Bills fan, and he gave it to me as a gift. Super generous.
And I happen to have this one hanging up on the wall, and I've got Bill stuff out here. And I've had the microphones. I do video production. And this is your football. Although I also have a Bills leather football with the emblem on it. And we just used his. And then I've got hundreds of Josh Allen cards. So we're like, let's just display it. And then each week, new things like Liquid Death, right? A lot of people are podcasting and using that. They're not even our sponsor. We don't have a sponsor. We're just like, let's put it on there. The coins, Fireball, because Josh Allen's from Fireball. It's like we're constantly, and look, we've got a paperback here. We sit down and we brainstorm for about an hour. We go over notes and we look over highlights from previous weeks. And I'm like the statistician. I study that part. He goes over fantasy talk. We love doing this. We do it for free. If you like what you see, please, at the very least, leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe. We offer fantasy advice. It's not just football for the Bills. It's all around the league.
Whether we get viewers or not, at the end of the day,
we're having fun.
Well, and also it goes to show no matter what anyone wants to do, whether you're into sports, music, you're into theater, you're into reading, you're into studying, you're into biochemistry, whatever it is, don't just talk about it. Try to do it. We talked about it for, like you said, 4 or 5 years, and then it just took bringing a few things over, and you've got a studio and just going for it. And now 12 episodes later, it's like, whatever you want to do, just go for it. And don't worry about, well, there's a lot of successful people out there that say if you worry about the followers, or if you worry about money, or if you worry about that then you're just, it's not going to be enjoyable. Like, just do what you love to do. And
look, you have to make money, but I don't ever let that motivate me and my passion and my artistic side. I don't do this for the money. I think it's fun. I just happen to have a professional video editing setup and have the ability to make my own logos and edit this stuff. But he offers a lot of insight. Greg's a great guy. I mean, he's from South Dakota, not even from Buffalo. And he's been a diehard since he's like 7. South Dakota has real life American bisons out there, right? And he's like, oh, the Buffalo Bills logo, that looks cool. Jim Kelly, oh, the Bills have cool colors. And now we sweat, we sleep, we eat, we bleed red, white, and blue.
Yes, indeed. That's it. It's just, you pick a team. It's all about loyalty. And when I like randomly pick the Bills, I mean, it's random because I'm from South Dakota. I don't think it's necessarily random. And like, I don't know. Like,
no, it was fate that we met.
Well,
this bromance.
I think I feel like I just relate with Buffalo fans, and I just feel like growing up in South Dakota and it was cold and snowy and you didn't have a team and kind of just small town, small state, and kind of just like it's the flyover state, Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of like similarities that I can just relate to, and it just felt right. Like it just, and then the more I just kept on becoming.
That's you. I mean, Greg's a single guy, and I've joked that there should be an NFL app or sports apps, right? Where like I know there's dating apps where you can say, oh yeah, I'm into sports, this and that, but like there literally should be like a Bills Mafia app where if you're in that city and you're single and you're ready to mingle or you want to get to know Mafia meets. I like it.
Yeah.
And it's MEATS where you show pictures of your junk.
No, my
kidding.
God, no.
Just kidding. But honestly, I want to give a shout out to Jeff, who is I think he's from Tennessee, but he's lived out in Oregon long enough. He's a big Oregon Ducks guy. He grew up here. His parents are from out there or something. His coworker Ricardo, who comes out, he became a diehard Bills fan because of Jeff. They worked together. Brant, who we just met a couple weeks ago, cool guy who actually does a lot of design and music and stuff.
Does music and lyrics, writes lyrics.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to meet people from different areas that have a commonality in the Buffalo Bills, and that's what I'm hoping you guys have. Maybe you're not, and you're just watching. I mean, look, the average retention on these videos isn't very good, no matter what the views are. We want that to improve. Hashtag, send it to whatever, Bills Mafia, Go Bills, Buffalo Podcast. You know, this is actually at Bills Podcast. So if you go to youtube.com/at Bills Podcast, you come right to this page. We just want you to enjoy yourself. We want you to have that same love and passion. And if not, it's okay. If this isn't for you, that's fine. But we showcase Bills, Josh Allen cards every week. We go over stats, which let's get into the fantasy talk.
Yeah, and then
let's get into fantasy.
Yeah,
ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. Real quick, before we start the fantasy talk, I just want to talk about one more time the real, true story behind how we came up with the name "The House That Allen Built." Because a lot of people were confused, especially when we first started the podcast, and one person rightly...
Like, wait, it didn't Jim Kelly build that house?
Yeah, so there was a lot of... And then there was almost like, I wouldn't want to say animosity, but because everyone loves Josh Allen, that's a Bills fan. But they were like, oh, well, hold up. Like, there's
it's
still
not undermining
Jim
what Kelly did.
Yeah,
no.
So, yeah, the true story behind it is that our buddy got us into collecting cards again during the pandemic. And so... we realized like that passion and that collection and like that fun of opening cards and collecting cards as a kid, like he brought back as an adult. Like I forgot, it's like just because you become an adult, you can still do this shit, and like, so it was, it was something cool to get back into. And then you had gotten into the Josh Allen collecting way earlier than I did and got into like some of the rookie cards for dirt cheap now.
In 2019, I bought a $67 Josh Allen rookie patch auto, Colossal, National Treasure, and I sold it for over $1,800.
Yeah, and it's like, so you started collecting, then I'm like, well, yeah, like he's Josh Allen, the second coming of Jim Kelly.
No, Jesus Christ. I'm just kidding.
It's like, yeah, why? Like he went to Wyoming. I've got connections with my sister had gone to Wyoming,
right.
And I grew up going to see her at track meets and watching the Pokes play at War Memorial, and it was like, man, it's like, why not? So I started collecting cards after Nathan got us back into it, and then I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to start buying Josh Allen cards.
And that name was honestly more you than me.
Well, yeah, but you also helped inspire it. So then you clearly have gone way more expansive with your Josh Allen collection than I have, and it's probably one of the best collections in the damn United States.
Here's why the name is what it is. So, no, the house that Allen built. I have enough Josh Allen cards that I could sell them and build a house.
Well, yeah.
So someday it will literally be Josh Allen that built my house.
At one point I said, Scott, you have so many Josh Allen cards that you could probably sell some of these and put a down payment on a house. And so then I was like, the house that Allen built. And yeah. So.
Yeah. And plus we have a new stadium coming in 2026 right here in Buffalo, New York. Right here, as if we're in Buffalo. Thank you for watching if you've made it this far in the episode. But I want to get into some fantasy football talk before I show you the cards and we say goodbye until we have a recap on Sunday night.
Yeah. I'm not going to do, I'm not really going to do any suggestions this week. I'm going to take a week off, I think, just like my reeling SDSU team is going to take a week off to recover and lick the wounds. I'm on a 2-game slide.
Well, if Conklin's still available, you should grab him because he's a good tight end. There aren't many. Hawkinson, can you believe that the Lions were willing to trade him? They got rid of him.
Yeah. I mean, the trade environment in the NFL has definitely taken a change for the best.
Yeah. I mean, James Robinson went from being behind ATN to sharing with Michael Carter. If Carter doesn't do much as a young guy who's had plenty of looks still, even though he was behind Breece Hall, when somebody a year younger than you comes in and takes the reins, that means that it's fair game. And James Robinson has been a good running back for the Jaguars. So I would say that's a pretty decent pick.
Yeah, and it's not like GMs are doing this only for the fans. I mean, they're doing it to try to better their teams or to try to gain draft capital when they're putting in, waving the white flag on a season. But
And if you can
but
pick up
fans
Nyheim
love
Hines,
it though. We love the action, the suspense. Like, oh, who's gonna get who? Like, oh, are we gonna get this person? Are we gonna get OBJ? And then there's always, seemingly seems to be something that you never thought was gonna happen.
I love it, but I hate it. Why I have mixed feelings is the early 90s Bills, before the free agency really became what it is with the salary cap and everything. I liked having players that played almost an entire career or an entire career with one team. Favre did it until he went to the Vikings and then the Jets. And most players that do that, like Dan Marino, who stayed with one team, Jim Kelly, who stayed with one team, Joe Montana for most of his career, one team. I love seeing that. But it's so much more exciting in the fantasy football world when you've got players jumping ship, being traded, moving around. We're like, ooh, who can we get? Our team would not be what it is without Stephon Diggs. Now, there is an argument to be said that Justin Jefferson would have been the same thing. It would have been a wash. We don't know that we would have landed Justin Jefferson. We traded out that pick, and they made that decision.
No
we
offense
might not have.
to Justin Jefferson. I took him with my first number one, first round pick in my SDSU league. He's an amazing talent.
I did too.
And for all intents and purposes, I think he's probably a good human being. I wouldn't.
Diggs right now is on top of his game.
But I would never switch them.
I love
he's
Diggs.
Awesome, but
he
Diggs
might not. Jefferson might not have had that same chemistry with Allen.
Maybe not. I think that whole thing was just meant to be.
Yeah, but my point is, like, with Trey White, right? We got him because we made that trade with Mahomes, or with the Chiefs to get that pick. So they got Mahomes, and I'm like, damn, how different would the Bills be with him? Who cares? Josh Allen may be just as good, if not better. And at the end of the day, Brandon Beane, Mick Bean, they know what they're doing. And
Big ball of bean, baby.
This team is on a collision course to make it to the Super Bowl with the Eagles or somebody like the 49ers now that they have CMC. And it's just exciting. It's exciting to have this. So,
and like you said about the trades, how it can completely change your fantasy landscape.
Yeah.
So like say you had Nyheim Hines. And maybe you had him handcuffed with Jonathan Taylor.
Yep.
Now you have Jonathan Taylor who's been struggling, but maybe he'll, he's obviously going to get more opportunities if he stays healthy.
Yep.
Now you've got Nyheim Hines who could end up immediately going into an RB2 role.
He went from Sam Ellinger to Josh Allen.
Yep,
and he went from sharing a backfield with Singletary, where he has a much better chance of actually seeing more touches than Jonathan Taylor, who killed it last year.
Yep. And then CMC owners, you go from being on a team that's just been awful and they go through a firing of a coach, and now he's on a team that's a Super Bowl favorite, and you got Garoppolo that's playing with more confidence, and
Jeff Wilson Jr., who we're like, oh crap, there goes his value because CMC just got traded over there. Jeff Wilson Jr. just got traded to what is it? Miami? Where did he go? I think he went to Miami.
Yeah,
so Miami got rid of Chase Edmonds, and they got Jeff Wilson Jr. because Mike McDaniel was his coach, one of his coaches in San Francisco.
And then the Browns backup, Kareem Hunt. Did Kareem Hunt get traded?
Nope, he did not.
He didn't get traded.
He played a lot in the game this past weekend, and I'm like, okay, if they're doing that, they're either, just like they do in the preseason before they do a trade, I'm like, they're either doing that because they want to give him some attention. You know who Kareem Hunt is by now. He was very good with the Chiefs until he had that stupid mistake in the elevator, or in front of the elevator at a hotel where he hit a woman. He's good. He's very good. But Nick Chubb is obviously number one. He's right there with him.
You know who else I would have wanted, even though
Bradley Chubb, who went to the Dolphins?
No, David Montgomery.
David Montgomery.
It was talked about a little bit.
Do you realize he was drafted the same draft, one pick away from Singletary? They were drafted back-to-back in the third round.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man, can you imagine they end up being on the same team? That'd be wild.
I doubt they will. Obviously, now they won't after this year. But what if we swapped them? What if at the end of the year we let Singletary walk and we get Montgomery? I'd be okay with that. But there's so much to speculate and wish for, not only for free agency and fantasy football and the Bills, the season, but just in life in general. It's exciting to be a sports fan. I enjoy it. I mean, we've got the World Series going on right now. We've got basketball back and hockey back. The Sabres, of course, are doing very well right now. The Blazers are doing well. The Bills are doing well. It's just exciting to be a sports fan. Let us know, other than the Bills, if you're even a Bills fan, what other sports do you follow? And the best comment will get one of these Bills cards.
Yeah. Hey, this dude's got plenty to give away now.
This I just got out. It's a far out. I've been looking at it. It's the 2022 Panini Luminance. It's a sweet card of Allen diving against the Dolphins.
And that's an SSP.
Yep, super short print. It's an insert card. It's really cool. What else do we have on your side? It's another horizontal card.
Yep. This one we got a 2022 Panini Luminance football as well, and it's same kind of holographic shimmer on it, which is really cool. It's the names of the game with the Allen behind him there in his throwing motion. That's another thing that like Scott and I have talked about as we've gotten back into collecting, and same with Nathan. Just talking about how far cards have come with the graphics and the quality.
Let's put them side by side right here.
And it's like at the end of the day, they are just cardboard, but what they've done with them is just so cool. And now they number them and they do short prints where it's harder to pull certain cards, and it's cool. We nerd out on it, but it's everyone's got their thing. Whether you're into like Dungeons and Dragons or Pokemon or World of Warcraft, like everyone nerds out on something.
Yep.
Pokemon Go, like. That's the cool thing
card
about
collecting in general is big right now. So Pokemon cards.
Yeah, it's like when we're opening packs,
Garbage Pail Kids.
like I think as adults you get into the grind of being an adult, and it can be mundane sometimes, and it's up and down, and it's you got to pay your bills and go through the grind of a 9 to 5 if unless you're really lucky. But man, sometimes you just got to remind yourself to like do the passions and things that just because you got older doesn't mean you aren't going to still enjoy stuff. It's a fun time.
You know what I want to wear next week? See this here? Orchard Park. It's from 26 Shirts.
Which, by the way, shout out to 26 Shirts.
Yeah.
What an awesome thing. The founder of it, she's been featured on some videos of Bill's Mafia.
There's a guy in that.
Well, the one that truly started it. Yes. Is it a couple?
I have no idea, but they're the one that has the house across the street from
And
the
I should
stadium.
and I should know her name, but anyways, and his name. But yeah, they started a t-shirt company, and it's non for profit.
Yeah.
All proceeds go to it goes to the Children's
Local
Hospital.
charities
Local charities. So they're just awesome designs. I'm a huge fan of Great Whites. Same with my brother. I've always been fascinated with sharks, and so they had a Jaws Allen.
Josh.
And yeah, they have the Josh Allen Great White coming up like on the cover of the Jaws movie, and then he's wearing his 17 jersey, and then you can tell it's like a Dolphins player swimming on the surface. Yeah. But yeah, like what a cool idea, and the fact that it's all for good charity. Like, and again, that brings us back full circle. Like,
But there's an Orchard Park down the road for me in Tigard. Right here in Oregon, there's actually an Orchard Park.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get this. I thought it was really cool.
And look at that. You were talking about ideas and how you don't just talk about it, do it. Like the people that started the Mafia, like they didn't just talk about it. They did
and now
it.
it's embraced and
stuff
licensed
like
by the
26
Bills.
Shirts and started something freaking awesome. And it was just a thought, and then they had to put the effort into it. Yeah. And it was probably, it was a passion project. It was a love project. And that's the Bills Mafia. Like at the end of the day, we're rowdy and we jump through tables and we love to tailgate and eat food and congregate. And it is almost like this religion on Sundays and Mondays and
for sure
sometimes Saturdays,
sometimes Thursdays or every Thursday.
But at the end of the day, though, even though there's all the debauchery and the craziness on the outside, on the inside is the heart, like the people with 26 Shirts and raising money for Andy Dalton and raising money for
Dawson Knox's family, Josh Allen's grandmother,
naming a wing in the hospital after Allen's passed away.
We did it for Lamar Jackson. We've done so many. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Let's do a cheers, man. Let's do a cheers. Cheers to Bills Mafia.
Bills Mafia.
And to our 12th, 13th episode.
And to loyalty.
Well, I think we've said everything we wanted to say. The Bills are 13-point favorites. We've got them winning. Greg says 34-13. I say 37-16. We both picked the Bills to win by 21. Let's hope that happens. Until next time, I'm Scott Kinmartin. With me, as always,
Greg Vollmer.
All right, this is the house that Allen built. Let's go,
Buffalo!
I know I did that a little out of order, but I liked it.
Oh, it's all good. Boom. It's all right. You kept it 100, man. Spoke from your heart.
Yeah.
Testing. 1, 2. Sibilance. Is this thing on? It's about to be. I'm Rex Ryan, and I love feet. Stinky feet.
Wisconsin
Clean
cheese feet.
I like skinny feet. Bubba Gump feet. Chili feet. Cajun feet. Hairy feet. I like all the feet.
All right,
You
we
did
got
that
this.
on purpose.
I did.
Dickwad.
All right.
You son of a biatch. Gonna be a lot of good fart audio. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just can't get it.
All right.
Sound like a dying animal. All right.
I'll do my hat the other way this time. Oh, you're in reverse? There you go, because I did it forward. Kills because.
Yeah, and you're right. You hit it off. You hit. You know. you hit it.
Holy.
You hit it right on the nail.
you
hit the nail right on.
You hit the nail on the head.
You hit the nail right on. You hit the nail right on the head. Just talking about.
Holy dude. You hit the nail on the head.
And yeah, and you know, on watching the high.
That's all, folks.
And
hardly treading water right now, and I know they're winning. And Robert Saleh said, Jesus Christ, dude. Kidding. Okay.
It's Jordan Phillips.
No.
Justin Jefferson.
No.
I mean,
Jesus
Christ.
Justin Jefferson. Yes.
Tim Settle. It's Tim Settle.
No. And his dad had signed this ball right here. His dad, right on this side, isn't it? Right there. His dad, Bobby April, was our special teams coach and interim head coach, I believe, for a little bit.
Yep.
Who cares? Oh my God. Greg is having a hell of a day. Let me tell you. Holy cow. There were special coins here that Greg.
Can I go get it?
Go get it. Holy shit.
All right. Is that too?
Yeah, just sit. Just sit. We're good. I don't care. It looks great. It's a little shiny, but I don't give a.
Aren't you glad you have such a special friend?
You are special, man. You're special to me.
Special needs.
Special needs. I said special to me.
I thought.
No, I didn't say special needs.
I know. But I really once you mentioned Bobby April, I wanted to put that.
Yeah, we would have shown it.
Well, you can use that, but maybe restart the kind of what you were saying because I kind of interrupted you, so you can.
I have no idea what I was saying.
You were talking about how the 6 degrees of separation at Cheerful with Amy knowing Bobby April. So then
that redo that?
It's Josh Allen. He's the second coming of Josh. He's Josh Allen, the second coming of Jim Kelly.
No, Jesus Christ.